everyone. I think I'm live. Say hi if you are here and you can see me and you can hear me. I am Christina and I'm a counsellor and psychotherapist. So say hi if you can see me or hear me, and I hope I can see the comments if there are any. I'm going to wait just a few seconds because it is exactly 2 o'clock, so we'll wait for a minute or so for people to join in if they're planning to join in. I'm just going to have a look at my... Hi Manisha, yes, great. Someone can see me and can hear me, that is great. Okay, so we'll wait just for a few more seconds before we begin. Just in case anyone else is planning to join live. I've got a stray hair there. I think it's officially the end of the summer, at least down here where I am. Today is raining all day. Anyway, let's start. So as I said, my name is Christina and I'm a counsellor and psychotherapist, and Madia has invited me today to talk about self-care and self-compassion, and thank you very much. So I see women in my private practice and mums. Some of them are let me just, I'm a bit quiet. Can you hear me now or better? I don't know why that would be. Can you hear me better now? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Can you hear me better now? I don't know why that might be. My volume is turned up really high. That is better. Excellent. Right. So I can so I see clients, I see women in my practice and mums who are quite often comes up that they are struggling with looking after themselves, and they're struggling with putting themselves first. So today I'm just jumping on here to kind of talk a little bit about that and give ideas and thoughts about what we can do about it. I also had a question from Emily, which I'm going to answer specifically, and I'm going to talk about that as well, referring to guilt and mum guilt, which is a big thing and a big thing that comes up. So firstly, self-care and self-compassion. Good afternoon, Madia. Self-care and self-compassion. What is the difference? So and because sometimes we use them interchangeably, and often sometimes, we don't know what the difference is. So the easy way to describe it sometimes is self-care can be things that we do. For example, you can go to your Pilates class, and that is something that you do for yourself that helps you physically and emotionally. But self-compassion can be about being kind to yourself and the way that you relate to yourself. Meaning that if, for example, you miss your Pilates class for whatever reason, rather than berating yourself about it, being kind and saying, well, I missed it today, it was out of my control, or I didn't feel like it and I didn't go, and I will go next time. And it is that compassion and being kind to yourself that defines what self-compassion is. So, and when we talk about self-care and looking after ourselves, it's about listening to what you need and how you respond to those needs. And it's really important to try not to ignore our emotions, and particularly the negative ones, because all that happens is that we find that those emotions kind of increase in our minds and they become bigger and bigger, and we give them more power. So allowing your emotions to come and acknowledging them and recognizing them, and allowing yourself to feel upset and sad and angry and fearful, and thinking about why, that really helps look after yourself and hold that emotion. We grow up and we go about our lives and in society trying to suppress a lot of these negative emotions, and sometimes we even suppress the good emotions because they feel dangerous, or we feel like we don't deserve them, we feel like we're not worthy of them. If we allow those emotions to come through, then we really allow those energies to flow, and we feel better. I forgot to say that I've got some notes just so that I don't forget. So if you see me flicking my eyes, then it's because I'm looking at my notes. So, for example, if you're feeling lonely, what is it that you could do to, kind of help yourself? So acknowledge that you feel lonely, you're feeling lonely. What can I do to help myself? And that could be calling a friend. If you're feeling anxious, breathing exercises can really help, and acknowledge, I'm feeling really anxious right now. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to do some breathing exercises. And that's okay. That's part of your self-care. If you're feeling sad, can you talk about it? Can you do something that will shift that sadness? After you acknowledge, okay, I'm feeling sad now. This has happened to me. I don't like it. What can I do to help myself? If you're feeling sluggish, for example, can you go for a walk? Can you make that exercise class that you were thinking of going? If you're feeling overwhelmed, journaling can really help. I'm a big fan of journaling when it comes to self-care. Journaling helps us by writing. The process of writing can really help us process our emotions, and try to write without editing yourself, and just write anything that comes into your mind. Why are you feeling this way? What has triggered it? Has this happened before? What can you learn? Who else was involved? What thoughts come into your mind at that moment when you're journaling? And you can do this at any point. It doesn't have to be a specific time. It doesn't have to be a specific, format. Just do what works for you. It could be just a blank piece of paper that you then, every time you just put it in a folder, or you can have a lovely book that you use. It could be anything. It's all about allowing the emotional processing to happen through the act of writing. I'm a big fan of, it doesn't matter how you really do it, but I personally am a big fan of actually handwriting your journal, because it's the process of writing and thinking at the same time that is really, really, I think, therapeutic. So essentially, is you're asking in terms of us, what to do with regards to, looking after yourself, is what can I do that helps me? And we women, whether we're mums or not, often we see this in women, we have this endless internal chat that we're not good enough. It is literally almost always there. It's like, we're not good enough. We never do enough. And it really, we always strive for more, and we always forget to celebrate the enormity of the tasks, the enormity of what we are already achieving. And we forget to look back. To say, oh, hang on a second, I keep going and going and going, but I forget to look back to see, all the things that I've already done. And a nice visual that I like to use is if you're trying to climb a mountain, and you keep going and you keep looking ahead, and you're looking where your next step is going to go, and you're keeping yourself safe, and you keep going and you're higher and higher and higher, you forget to look back, and you think, oh, I still haven't reached the peak. But you've literally, maybe climbed 3/4 of that mountain. And you forget to look back and think, hang on a second, I've just achieved all of this. And that's really important. It's really important. And part of our self-care to press pause for a minute and say, well, I am raising two children and I have just given birth, or I'm a busy mom, I'm working, I've got lots of things going on in my life. Whatever it is that's going on in your life, press pause and think, oh, hang on a second, I actually am achieving quite a lot of things. I think that's really important. I really do like using that visual, that mountain that we climb. Now, guilt, and that is relating to a question that we had through, is it okay to blob on the sofa? I think, let me just read the question. So the question was, what is self-compassion? And is it okay to just blob on the sofa when you're tired and not feel guilty that you're not playing with the baby or the kids? And how do you stop the guilt? What a good question. But yes, it's okay to blob on the sofa when you're tired. But isn't it interesting that we want, and I have fallen, I do this as well. We want permission to look after ourselves, and we want permission to, do something for ourselves, even when we're tired. And I think that's really interesting, and it's important. Part of the self-care is to give ourselves the permission, and give ourselves permission that when we're tired, it's okay to sit on the sofa and not play with the kids. Now, but how do we stop that guilt? Because we might sit on the sofa, but we might be sitting on the sofa thinking, oh, my child needs this, or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that, and constant inner chat of, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be sitting on the sofa, even though you know that sitting on the sofa and taking a break is the right thing for you. So I just wanted to pause here and talk a little bit about guilt, because I think guilt is a real saboteur when it comes to looking after ourselves. And guilt is a feeling that is really related to when we've done something wrong. So whenever you catch yourself feeling guilty, ask yourself, have you done anything wrong? Is sitting on the sofa a wrong thing? Is going for a run a wrong thing? Is, talking to a friend and spending half an hour on the phone with them the wrong thing? Have you done something wrong? And if you've got an inner voice in your head saying you've done something wrong and you should be feeling guilty and you should not be doing this and you should have asked for permission, who is talking? Try to recognize that voice. Is that you? Is that your mum? Is that your dad? Is that the inner child? Who is in there? And recognize that and talk back and identify that voice and acknowledge it and talk to yourself and talk to yourself as if you are your own best friend. So if your best friend was saying that to you, and if your best friend was saying, I felt really guilty going for a run, what would you say? And have a little think about that. What would you say? Would you say, well, yes, you should have felt guilty, you should have never gone for a run? Do you talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself? And I wrote a blog about this, which I'm going to put the link on the event or somewhere, where the title of the blog is What Would Happen? What if you spoke to yourself? What if you spoke to your friends the way you speak to yourself? And I think, for most people, and certainly a lot of women, we would not have many friends if we spoke to them the way we speak to ourselves, because we are our own worst critics, and that inner chat is really harsh sometimes. So your self-care is a lot about quieting that down and talking and saying, well, why should I feel guilty when I take a break if I'm tired? And guilt can paralyze you, can overwhelm you. And the only time that guilt is useful, if you've made a genuine mistake and you feel that will help you learn and put it right. So for example, if you spoke abruptly to a friend of yours and you didn't really mean to, that was not your intention, you might immediately feel a bit guilty about that. That then spurs you on to put that right. That spurs you on to, say sorry and repair that relationship. And that's fine. So guilt has its uses, but guilt is this pervasive feeling that paralyzes us and overwhelms us unless we catch it. And the way we catch it is by asking ourselves, have I done anything wrong? And what would I say to myself if I were my best friend? Or what will my best friend tell me? And really say that to yourself. And it sounds cringy, it might sound cheesy, but it's a habit. And if you try, and those things will not change overnight. So it's little things at a time. Keep trying to do these things. It's little things at a time. And that is also part of self-care. Not berating yourself if you don't get it right first time. So try once, try twice, try the next day. Keep thinking about these things, because these things are a process. It's a journey. And some days we've got really good days and some days we've got really bad days. And part of our self-care and our self-compassion is by saying to ourselves, well, that's okay. Today was not a great day. I'm going to try again tomorrow. And there is the sweet point of looking after yourself. Guilt then tends to turn into shame, self-doubt, decreased self-esteem, that we're not worthy, and then it's a vicious cycle that feeds that guilt, and it persists. So what are you doing wrong? Ask yourself, are you doing anything wrong? So check in. So when you're thinking of self-care, so there's another point that I wanted to talk about was self-care. You may hear a lot of people saying, oh, you should do this, you should go for a spa day, or you should have your nails done, or you should go for a run, or you should talk to... Like, there's a lot of things that you could do. And they're all valid. When you think about self-care, though, the important thing is that it doesn't become another pressure, and it doesn't become another thing to do. So the question to ask is, what kind of energy will I have after this? So will my energy be more or less? Do I have energy? Actually, firstly, do I have energy to do this right now? So do I want to go for a run? And if I do go for a run, will that give me more energy or less energy? And really check in with yourself. Get in the habit of checking in with yourself. And that's part of self-care and self-compassion. How do I feel right now? Okay, if I want to go for a run, then that actually might make me feel a bit tired, but overall it might give me more energy. And that's the thing that you need to be checking in with yourself, your energy levels. Let me know in the comments if anything is resonating, if you've got any questions, if there's anything that you like, anything else that you'd like me to talk about. There was something that I just wanted to talk about and I completely forgot, and I seriously hope that it comes back to me. Yeah, I think it's gone. We were saying something about self-care and shame. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. No, it's gone. It might come back to me. Is there anything that is particularly resonating with you at the moment? And is there anything that you're thinking that you'd like to ask me as your counsellor and as a counsellor and psychotherapist? And I'm still trying to remember, because it was a really good point that I wanted to make. I'm really sorry. That's completely gone out of my mind. And I think I've answered Emily's question about self-compassion and not feeling guilty. How do you stop the guilt? And I think I've answered that. So how do you stop the guilt is by checking in with yourself whether you've done anything wrong and giving yourself that time. And it could be that you just want 5 minutes, or you just want even 5 seconds to close your eyes and think about all the good things that you have done with your children all along, and taking some time out does not erase those things. What does therapy involve? Wow, a whole range of things. Therapy. Well, in therapy, when you come to therapy, we talk about, well, it depends on why you're coming, or what the initial issue is. So we we allow for thoughts and feelings and emotions to come through, and we discuss them and explore them. The kind of therapy that I offer is called psychodynamic therapy, and we look at the roots and causes of behaviors and patterns in your life. And what we do when it comes to emotional pain is therapy doesn't quite erase that emotional pain, but it helps you learn to hold it and stay in that moment where you appreciate your pain and your journey, and then through that and through incremental changes, relief it happens, and you feel a sense of relief, and you feel a sense of self-awareness, and increased self-awareness and increased self-esteem. And we really talk and think about the relationships in your life. We really talk and think about what happens in your life that is good and that you can hold on to, and really try to understand what it is that happened in the past that is affecting your present and effectively will be affecting your future, in the sense that there are certain patterns and the way that we relate to people that are the ways we have learned, and that they are the patterns and the templates that we have grown up with. It's not about blaming your parents, although parents feature a lot, but it's not about blaming them. It's about appreciating that you were raised in a particular environment, and maybe some of these things were not healthy or helpful, or they're not anymore healthy or helpful for you. And then you recognize them as something that is changing, that is stopping you living the life that you want. And recognizing that our parents are human beings, and they are flawed human beings. They are not perfect in the same way that we are not perfect, and I'm not perfect, and no one is perfect. So it's not about that. And if you are a parent, and when we become parents and when we become mums, that is one of the biggest transformations anyone could ever experience. And somehow when we're faced with our own offspring, when we're faced with our own children, they have the ability to trigger and press all the buttons within us. And sometimes when we become parents, we are faced with our own childhoods, because we see our own children growing up. And certain things that our children do, or certain things that we do, the way we speak to them, the way we hear our own voice, it reminds us the way that we were spoken to when we were little. And in some cases that's great because that worked, and maybe that was great, but in many cases it's not. And in many cases I work with clients who come and really don't want to be like their parents, and therapy involves really unpacking that and exploring that. What happened? Why it happened? What can we do about it? What can we keep? What do we need to get rid of? What do we need to replace it with? And parenting is one of those, it can really change you. It has the potential of making you the best version of yourself, but it also has the potential of waking up all your nightmares, and it has the potential of turning you into the worst version of yourself. So therapy can really help, because it offers that safe space. And when we say safe, and you may hear a lot of counsellors saying, oh, there's a safe space, what we mean is, I, as a counsellor with my clients, I bear no relevance in their lives. So I am not, part of their social network. I'm not a friend of theirs. I'm not in their lives in that sense. So therapy, when you come to therapy, you can bring the version that you want to bring, and you can bring all the good things and all the bad things in a place where you're not going to be judged, and you're going to sit here with me, and you can tell me all your darkest fears. You can tell me your whatever it is that you're thinking, and all the good and bad things, and that is quite liberating. Because when someone is able to do that, things come up when you least expect it, and the unconscious comes to the fore. And then we are able to explore that, and the assumptions come to the fore, and the stereotypes come into the fore. And we are able to then, sorry, a message came through. We are able to explore those, and then these changes take place outside the therapy room, and that is quite transformational for people. Yeah, I think I've explained what therapy involves. It sounds quite magical sometimes, but there's a lot of hard work, and it's you got to stick with it, but you can do it. I mean, it depends on where you're coming for, but it can be as short term or as long term as you need it to be. So back to, I don't know whether anyone else has any questions in terms of self-care, self-compassion, or therapy, or anything like that. What's the time? 25 minutes past 2. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I will be around the group. Let me know if anything particularly resonated. Tag me if you have any questions. I will put the blog link in the comments, and you can find me at christinatherapy.co.uk if you have any other questions that might come to you later on. All right. Okay. Thank you. Take care. Bye.